my component for this research was doing the goods, the trade and services component, which accounts for most of the participants, which really falls in the line of people whose business is their skill set. They're not like the traditional exports we know where they're physical assets. It's mostly intellectual, cerebral capacities that they export that usually contribute to a manufacturing or a larger value chain. For example, a service could be an accountant who may be an accountant for a manufacturing company. The manufacturing company needs the cost accountant in order to operate. So one of the things that I think I want to start off by saying is don't see services as a separate and apart sector, because even though I'm presenting this separate, there are areas for collaboration and cooperation with the goods as a platform, not just for market entry, but for your existence as a whole. So don't see yourself as an isolated individual, but see yourself as a part of a longer value chain and just putting in a little input into the bigger value chain. So in going into the mission, I would have broken down into a few objectives for the mission. So firstly, the obvious was to get the empirical understanding of the mission of the European market. That's in time for the trade mission, but it's also for the persons who are not going on the trade mission, so that in 5 years you would have a foundation that you could continue to build on by filling in the gaps. So it's not just for persons who are going on the trade mission, but for everyone who may need an understanding of the markets. The next thing that we're going to do, which is at the end of my final presentation, which is to gather a general, I think I have about 10 market entry strategies that I would have pulled together based on surveying different companies, so that you guys can start to look at which one looks as though it's the best for me, which one looks as though I'm almost there to filling out, so we can actually get you into thinking about entry. And this is not just for the ones who are on the mission, but it's also for the ones who are, as Clive would have shown, at tier 3, because one of the biggest foundations of all of the strategy is doing your research, meeting the right people. And that's not something you necessarily need to be in the market to do. It's just something that you need to have good internet access. And so yeah. And then the final thing is to establish networks and contacts. And one of the cool things about being in the market is that, as Clive would have said, when people said, hey, we have somebody we need you to meet, we're able to say, well, we'll take the 5 o'clock train. Let's hold on in XYZ area and wait for a meeting. So e-commerce and fashion. One of the things that we found out through every meeting, and this is not just in fashion, this is everywhere, but I pulled up fashion specifically just to highlight it. E-commerce is huge. So for many of you guys who don't have an online presence, please get that done before you even consider meeting people in the market, because much of their research into who you are, they're not going to try and hunt you down on Facebook and LinkedIn. They're going to want one concentrated space where they can see your product, see your idea and your vision beyond. So to move on to the digital industries, which in this component for the EU comprises of all digital industry sectors. So it's not just animation, it's music and any type of ICT and communication industry. They have tried and they are trying to create a digital industry single market, which in essence is a free movement of technology across borders and technology-based services. So in digital music, we weren't able to actually meet with anybody in the digital music industry sector. But one of the things that we would have found out, aside from the strategies which I listed there, is that the value chain of music has changed to include e-commerce and persons who make devices that can digest musical products. That change in value chain is very important because it means that people aren't going to buy discs anymore. Some people aren't even using iTunes because now we have Tidal and all of these different platforms spotting up. So the market entry strategy, this kind of brings me to the end. For fashion, I would have identified 3 strength strategies, which is the networks, which I talked about a little bit later. So it's pretty much meeting the right people, right? And then incubation programs, which is the maison de mode and so forth, meeting the people who will take you to the next level. And then direct distribution, if you choose to do it on your own, that's no issue. So for jewelry, we found networks, special purpose groups, which I would have discussed as being those types of value-based retail spaces, which capture your personal values and your ethics and so forth. The entry strategy for this is really research, finding the right person, registering, which everyone has different requirements, and finally, entry. For the animation, we recommended networks and incubation. The incubation acceleration is a little bit different because sometimes incubators don't necessarily take you on the program but may have the right networks to put you onto the right people. So even if you're not enrolled in the program, you can still tap into an incubator for networking to meet the right persons, and they have platforms for jobs and upcoming projects as well that you can honestly just stalk online without being a member. And finally, for digital industries, the entry strategy we suggested is innovative promotions and interactive promotion. Innovative promotion was taken from Sam Smith's entry onto the market, which was when he did a live ad, literally a live ad on TV, and they used that as a platform to advertise his upcoming album. For persons who are not music producers, it's still a way of finding a new way to tap into new customers. It's not about necessarily being a musician or an artist. It's about looking outside of the box, so not always sending a CD or sending a sound sample and mailing it to somebody and praying to God they answer. And the next thing we have is interactive promotions, where we asked this was given to us from the IFPI, which is the industry for International Federation for Phonographic Industries, and they suggested interactive promotions with the digital platforms that are up and coming now, which in essence is where persons are using social media and other interactive platforms to release their media and to get people to respond and to be engaged in the process of making the final product, whether it be a show, whether it be a sound sample, whether it be a music album. So just in conclusion, to get into the EU market for services, I want you guys to also think of cooperation and collaboration, not just doing it on your own. Finding the right connections, branding and localizing if you need to, but making sure that your brand is strong and memorable. And finally, e-commerce platform. Please get that in order before you even start talking to everyone.